Hey guys, Toast here. Today I want to cover some tips to help improve the longevity of each life in Battlefield 1. These tips are designed to keep you alive for longer between each death, which will ultimately allow you to do more for your team and for yourself prior to having to reset and make your way back to what you were doing previously. These tips are not specifically about improving your kill-death ratio, though that will likely be a secondary result, and are more about keeping you alive for longer so that you can focus more consistently on objectives. While there's no absolute rule saying which battles you should engage in and which you should leave alone, there are certainly times where you'll have the upper hand based on your location and weapon, and times where you definitely will not. Knowing which battles you're going to have the advantage in prior to engaging in them is going to save you a lot of grief in the long term. For example, as an assault, you're going to be primarily running with weapons that excel in close range engagements with high damage and rate of fire, but fast drop-off and high recoil. Because of this, it would be wise to engage targets that are within about 20 meters of you, as you're going to have the upper hand in these battles against scouts, medics, and most supports, and be on a pretty level playing field with other assaults. Conversely, if you try to engage in targets that are further away, particularly if they're running any other class than assault, then you're placing yourself at an immediate disadvantage right from the start. While you may be able to get a shot or two off before they're able to begin to retaliate, they're likely to be able to take you out as you're engaging them at a distance for which their weapons are more properly suited. There's absolutely no shame in not engaging a target that you're not likely to be able to kill, so try spotting the enemy and either trying to move to a more ideal range, or let your teammates take care of it. To go along with this concept, if you're on foot and encounter a group of enemies who are within your ideal range, medics are generally going to be the most worthwhile target to engage first. The reason for this is that no other base class is capable of healing others, reviving others, and self-healing, all of which medics are capable of doing shortly after one of their allies is taken out. If you run into 2 or more enemies, say a medic and an assault, this can be the difference between having to kill 2 enemies to survive, or having to kill 3 enemies, the assault twice because of a revive and the medic once, whereas if you focus on the medic first, you're likely to give yourself a better chance of getting out alive. There will be times in a fight where you clearly have the upper hand. There will be times where the battle is pretty much neck and neck, and then there will be times where the enemy is clearly at an advantage. If you pick the engagements that you initiate wisely, then you shouldn't find yourself in this third situation all that often, but unfortunately you won't be the one initiating all engagements, and you will have to deal with the times where the enemy is the one engaging you. Sometimes you'll be in a position where you can hold your own, or perhaps they've engaged you at a time where they're at a disadvantage, which is great, but there will certainly be times where they engage you when they have a distinct advantage, and this is when this tip will come in handy. Now, you could choose to fight and see if you're able to overcome the obstacle and come out on top, but it's going to be more advantageous to you more often to learn when you aren't in a position to win and back down. There's nothing wrong with backing out of a fight to take cover and reevaluate your next move. If you're an assault and you're being sniped at from a distance, take cover behind a building or even in a hole to figure out your next move. If you're getting hit by a medic taking potshots, there's nothing wrong with going back the direction you came from to regain your health and figure out an alternative route to take, perhaps even to flank the enemy. Even when you should technically be on even footing by using the same weapon or a similar weapon, if they engaged you first, they're at an advantage and it may suit you better to back off. Most players are going to do one of 2 things when you back off. They're either going to rush you and try to finish the job, which gives you the element of setting up an engagement on your terms, or they're going to forget about you and move on. The attention span of most players isn't long enough to wait out an enemy when they don't know how long it may be before the enemy pops up again. Battlefield 1 maps can be quite large and very open. There are expanses that need to be crossed that can be daunting and leave you open to long-range fire, but you can minimize your exposure to these situations and others by trying to always move from cover to cover. These expansive fields and outstretches that appear in a number of maps aren't without ways to keep you out of danger. There's usually hills, boulders, trees, or debris scattered about that'll help you break the line of sight from anyone that may be tracking you. If you try to move from one point of cover to another over and over again instead of running a direct line through the middle of an open area, you're giving yourself the best possible chance at not being targeted during your movement. Even if you don't actually move into cover at every point and just move near it, at least you'll be close enough to something that you can take cover behind it if you find yourself being shot at by an enemy. This is obviously going to be a bit more useful on maps with large open areas like Empire's Edge, Foul Fortress, and Giant Shadow, but do keep in mind that if you do the same thing on medium and smaller maps despite not having as many expansive areas to cross, it can still be really beneficial on maps like St. Quentin Scar and Ballroom Blitz. This video is all about staying alive for a longer period of time, and what better way to increase longevity than to be brought back from the dead. Okay, I know, medics never revive, medics never do their job, and sometimes that's absolutely true. There are times where I've sat and waited for 30 seconds for two medics that are quite literally kneeling on my corpse only for them to continue being utterly oblivious to the dead guy that they're gently resting on. But then there are other times where you've died, and while you may not be aware of it, the area still isn't safe for you to be revived quickly. Smart medics are going to clear the area around you of immediate danger before going in for the revive in order to give you the best possible chance of survival once you've gotten up, as well as to ensure they don't just die while going to help you. It happens to me frequently when I'm trying to revive someone only for them to skip their chance just a moment prior to me being able to get to them. An important thing to keep in mind is that whether you choose to skip the revive or wait it out, it won't take you any less time to be able to spawn back into the game. You either choose to pass the respawn timer on the ground where you have a chance of being revived, or on the menu adjusting your kit or surveying the overview of the map. If you're not immediately needed anywhere and don't need to make modifications to your kit, stay on the revive screen and try to wait it out for someone to get to you. Use that time to relay information to your squad mates about the person that killed you so that they might be able to take him out. Just because a medic isn't within 20 meters of you when you go down doesn't mean that someone hasn't seen you and isn't trying to get to you. It may feel like an eternity, but skipping this screen when you don't need to only makes it so that someone that could have potentially revived you and allowed you to negate the death and carry on with what you were doing now can no longer do so. The only thing better than not dying is to die and then be revived like it never happened, so be patient if you have the opportunity. Now I want to know some tips that you think are important to staying alive in Battlefield 1. Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Toast, and I'll talk to you soon.